Hi Greg, this is for you and your team. This is to sort of give you an idea how to use iLoad and to enter jobs on and get you up and running. So we've got a test job in there, which I think I've already texted you earlier and mentioned. But until you can get into it, I'm going to make this video so you've got something to go back to. So you're seeing all the items that I have at my disposal on Systems Admin, but you will only have users, resources, productives, holidays, and documents. So they're the ones that allow you to do your pick lists and stuff. So we're going to bypass all that for now because that'll be at some other point. But future orders, parts management, shop loading, workshop management, delivery management, on-site, we're going to put a job all the way through to invoicing management. So we've got a test job in there, but I'm going to create another job sort of artificially, but I'll show you what I mean. So we go into this. This is the first thing you do. So you sign in, you're going to add a job. So there's the test job. Now what this means is you've got a 17% buffer running. You've got 4 hours to actually deal with this job. You can make it what you want. You can make it 0. You can make it anything. But normally you'd put a job into the system and you want to do something with it within 4 hours. You can make it 20 hours, you can make it 2 hours or 0. But it just means with a buffer running, you've got 4 hours to put this in and get it into the next phase. So as we can see, we've got test job 2, estimate, reg and VIN, vehicle type, customer name 1, 2, 3, estimate date, workshop. Don't know whether you'd want that on this page, but that's if this job was going to go into your other workshop to have work done to it on the paint side of things. Estimate comms if you want to leave any estimate information, and the estimator is. Now let's just put the estimator as you. So we go into docs. We go down the list until we find estimator. There it is. Click on that. Greg, estimate status. Again, that's a pick list you can change and make do. Let's just put estimate done. So collection and delivery, I've now changed that so you've got collection or delivery. So if there's none, but you're going to collect it, let's say, so we collect it. Now then, any other items to put in there? Not really. Shop loading comments, if there was any. So if you was going to let Tony shop load it, you might put some comments in there. So if you was going on holiday today and you've not shop loaded it and you're going to leave it to him, you might put some shop loading comments in there, just so that anyone following you, when it's sat in shop loading, they'll see the comment that says contact the customer before confirming repair or build, whatever it is. Workshop comments, something you can leave in there for whoever you want to do. So you might put some workshop comments in there of any description. You might put in there the person that you want to do the repair. So if you put the initials in there, or if you just put Andrew, if there was 2 people that was going to do welding or something and you wanted a specific welder to do it, you'd put their name in there. So if you want to be specific about who's going to do that part of the job when it goes into the workshop, you can put their initials in there. So that gives you an option. These are not related to you, so you can ignore all of them. Now the other thing is, let's just next it. So it tells me all the data that there is nothing entered for it. So it's just a question of whether you want to go back and enter some delivery comms or something like that. You go back, but we're happy with what we've got. As I said to you before, it tells you what you're going to do. You're updating tracking documents. and workshop estimate comms estimator. We're going to confirm that. So now we've got you in it as the estimator. Estimate comms, there isn't any. Estimate date was created on the 24th. So let's now go to action this. Now in this list, we've got current location of order list waiting booking. This is where all the jobs get created and put in. So jobs that eventually don't turn into jobs, you can either leave them there for future reference, or you can cancel them. So you just literally go job cancelled, next, confirm, and it cancels the job off the system. Now once you've entered the job on the system, it stays there forever, but it will be in the location of cancelled. If you ever had the customer come back in 6 months, 8 months time, you'd only have to put in the registration or the VIN number of the vehicle, and that job will come back up, and you can then reinstate it back into the system. So it's not the end of the world if you job cancel it and the customer comes back in 3 months time and says, I will have that job done. Yeah, I will have that bill, please. So you can then drag it out cancellation. So all you've got to do is put in the job number, the estimate number, or the VIN number, and you will get the job back up, and it'll allow you then to reinstate that job back into the system. Alright, so that's just something you could do. Now we're going to move the job from current location, order list waiting booking, to confirm booking. So let's do that. Now at this point in time, we now know we've got a confirmation. So we're now going to say to the parts department, let's get it in, but the job's not on site yet. So we haven't actually received the job because we want to find out when the parts are going to be in. So we next that. Again, we've got the opportunity to change any tracking documents, and everything's fine. If there was an estimate number incorrect or a VIN number incorrect, you can amend it here if you want to. Then we just again next and confirm, and that job is back in there. Now this little job number in red, what that does on the old system that we had, you would literally have to type that job number in up on this search box here, and then press the go button and search for it. What we've done now is we've made it save all that faffing around. We're just going to press the test job number, and the job comes up. So you can see I've previously job cancelled, and there's the, so test job 2 used the job cancellation function and it works. So I was just doing that. Then reinstalled job back to test job. So I put my initials on it at the end of the day, but you can see the author is Ray Jenkins. You can add another note in, and you can go on and add as many notes as you like, and that stays with the job all the way through. So when you come to a specific job number, as we are here, it's got all the from, to, time, and the person that did it. So where we are now is you can see that I've re-implemented that job back into the system. But that's how you can go to it very quickly. So if I press the back arrow, it puts me back here. If I press that, it puts me back to history, job history. Alright, so let's just go back. So rather than go through the eye of the menu, I just want to go back to where I was. So then we get to the point where we've got documents, action it. So if I look for action in it, it's going to move it to estimate complete or workshop loading. So I can do either. The job is now on site, so I click it, and now I've got the job on site. That allows me to see all the jobs on site and where they are. Now, once we've done that bit, estimate complete, I'm going to go back again because we haven't actually completed an estimate. We're going to do that now. We're going to go in here. So we've got frame cutting, welding, galvanizing frame, electrics, subframe fitment, assembly build, paint, build up of paint. Now, all the jobs that have got hours that you can allocate to the specific job go in there. The jobs that don't have any specific hours attached to them, but they are part of the flow of work, are here. So valeting doesn't have any allocated time to it, but it comes into the flow. QC has allocated time. I think you said 4 hours. So it just goes to the default that you used before. Total hours, 4. The jobs that you don't want it to go to. So if we take out speed limiter, it's not having a speed limiter put on, and it's not having the force cameras put on. But it's having the axle load equipment, and it's also livery to be applied at the end of the repair. So let's now go into frame cutting. We know it was 4, 8. These are for all galvanizing frame. We said that was 20, didn't we? That it would be away for 20 hours, working hours, not days. Electrics, I think we said 5. And subframe fitment, can't remember what that was. 4. I think the assembly build was 20. Paint doesn't have any, and build up after paint doesn't have any. So if we next that job, we've now got a total of 69 hours. We've got axle load equipment to be fitted and livery to be applied, and we've got the valeting, and we've got QC. So we next that job. We then can move any of these up and down if we needed to. So if we wanted to QC something before a particular completion, we could do that. But in your case, I don't think you're going to use this very much, if ever. So let's confirm that. We've got 69 hours. You notice the things that aren't going to be in the repair flow. The 2 items we took out, the cameras, they're not in there. Only the 2 items that we are going to do to it, put the livery and axle. So we confirm that. That job is now there. It still hasn't gone anywhere yet because we've not actioned it. So it's still sitting in the confirmed order booking. I could move it to ready for body shop loading. So if I was waiting on an authority for someone to pay for it, but I've done all the estimate and everything else, I could action it, move it to estimate complete. That should already be clicked. Order parts, so we're telling the parts go to do it. Next that. Yeah, information status, orders parts, vehicle on site. Next that. Confirm it. And there's a job. Now if we go outside of that, if we duplicate that page, so that's how we do it, right click, gets you it up, duplicate it. So I've now got a duplicate of that. I'm going to go back to main menu and I'm going to look at on site. And there's our job. So you can see there is no time allocation to it. There's no buffer start yet. That shouldn't be there, so I've got to take that out. The due date has not been confirmed yet. So the buffer start and the due date get put in. So you can look at all the jobs that are on site. You'll get a visual of all of them and at what stage, who was the estimator, who's the customer, and so on and so forth. That we don't need. Total loss start time. Again, it's just something that's been bog standard, but I'll edit that out. So the due date and the buffer start workshop is yet to be generated because we haven't actually booked it in. Now if we go back to our future orders, we could now action it. And the vehicle is on site. Do we want a total loss invoice? Yes. Total loss invoice? No, that shouldn't be there either. Move to workshop. Workshop loading is the next default move. Total loss gone, total loss for removal. Again, these shouldn't be in here. So I need to edit that. That's why I need to test these things, you see, to see what it does and what it doesn't do. Right, so what we're doing, current location ready for body shop loading. So next that, amend any of this if I need to. Part status, order immediately. The parts guy would put the date he orders the parts in. So you've got a physical date ordering. Go to next. So we're going to from ready to body shop loading to ready for workshop. Information status is order the parts, vehicle on site. That's all part of that. So we next it. Again, we confirm it. That job is now out of the future order list. And if we now go to shop loading management, we have that job in there. Shop loading comms, that's something you can put in at the very beginning, but there isn't any. This has also got a running buffer of 4 hours. From the time it enters this location, the buffer will run from 0 to 100% during 4 hours. All that does is just put a bit of pressure on to actually get the thing loaded in. So you'll be able to see it's been in there. So if somebody put that job in there, you looked at the location, you can see how long it's been sat there with no one booking it actually into the load. Right, so let's put this job in. Gonna load it. Now, things that you need to know about this particular location is you can see there's no work actually in there at the moment. This is giving you a 9-week ahead horizon. Currently we're in Thursday, so nothing's in there. We've got cutting as one of the resources, welding, assembly and paint. So that's what consists of your workload and the capacity that you're doing. The offset day, which we haven't spoke about before, is adding an extra day to the job for sending it to a dealership or having the livery fitted. So if you've got to wait a day for the guys after you complete the job, and you've got to wait a day for the livery guys to come in and complete the job, you can add the day there. So let's say it takes them, just for argument's sake, they have a problem fitting something and they're going to be on it for 3 days, or they say to you, all right, we've modernized it, what we used to do in a day now takes 2. So all you do there is the offset day is a day after completion, a day after the due date. So that's what that is. So you can have any time in there. If you're going to complete the job and deliver it on the day you complete it, it needs to be 0. It needs to have a 0. You can't not put anything in there. It can't be blank. It's got to have a number. So if there is no additional added days after the completion and the QC, then you put 0 in there. But it always defaults to 1 day. Now I can change that so it defaults to 0. And if you then wanted to add a day, you would just type in 1. Let's leave it at 0 for this. And we're going to say now we've got a 16-day job. Yeah, I'm thinking to myself here while I'm doing this. Let's just put this in for the moment. So we're going to make it finish today. So we're going to put it in. So the due date is today. We're going to finish. So you can make the workshop finish anytime you like. You could finish at 10:30 in the morning. Could be 1 o'clock or lunchtime. This changes the start time. So depending on, so at the moment it defaults to 5 o'clock finish. Let's test load it. So it says you've got 96% of the day left in order to complete this job. So the job started on the 8th of August. At the time the buffer started running was at 15:44. To have the job complete on the 24th, being today, at 5 o'clock. Now, so we've got a 13:44 start. If I now said, right, okay, I want the job to finish at lunchtime on the 24th, I put it in there and I test load it, and it now changes it to a 1 o'clock finish on the 24th, but it pushes this forward by the same amount of hours. So I've gone from 5 o'clock finish to 1, and that's pushed that job through from 1500 hours to 11. Okay, so you can adjust the finish time if you want to. Let's go back to 17, test load. It now says you start at 3 o'clock, 3:45 on the 8th. You notice that the buffer finish changed. So if I go back to that 1 o'clock finish and test load it, at the moment the buffer is 96%. Test load it, it's now saying, well, if you're going to finish it at 1 o'clock today, you've only got 2% of the buffer to go. So you're 98% through the job. Let's go back. Test load it. Now we're looking at the due date. So workshop start, workshop finish. If I was to put an offset day in there, say for the livery, and I put 1 day for the guys to come and do the livery, and now test load it, it means that if I'm going to give the due date of the 24th, I need to have completed it on the 23rd to allow for that 1 day for the livery guys. So it affects the finish and it pushes it forward 1 day. Look at the buffer, 103%, should have finished it yesterday at 5 o'clock. The due date is still the same. I'm still handing it back on the 24th today, but it means that I should have finished it last night at 5. If I take the offset day out, put a 0 in there, click that, nothing changes until I test load it. That's it. Okay, so we've got that in there, and we now know that we need to get a crack on because it's now the 24th and we've got to be delivering it at 5. So you get to see the flow. It tells you what the hours are on the jobs. So there's no time allocation to these 3 items, but they are in the flow. We then commit that job to the workshop. So now that's gone. Let's go to workshop management. There we can see the job. It's in frame cutting. Now, workshop management and workshop report are 2 different things. So if I now click that, duplicate it. If I now go to workshop report, which is the one that you would have open for the technicians. So now I've amended the workshop report so it looks like this. We've got buffer finish, job number, estimate number, VIN number, vehicle type, delivery type, a delivery date that you want to put in, type of vehicle. So that's small at the moment, but once you start entering items into it, that will fill up. So parts comms, if you want the parts guy to leave any comments for anybody, you can have them in there. Workshop comments, that could be, you know, where you decide that you want a certain technician to do something on a job. You put their initials in there, or you can put their name in there and say, I want Andrew to do that job. What's completed, what percentage of it, if it stops anywhere in the flow and they have to leave it to go and do something else, they can stop the job at the percentage it's completed. It doesn't stop the buffer's still running, but it just says to anyone looking at it, the percentage of the work that's been completed so far. Now, you wouldn't get the technicians to keep going in and updating it every time they go a little bit further into the job. It's only if they leave the job to do something else and come back at another time, then everyone can see how far into that job is without having to go to the workshop and physically look at it to see how far it is. So the technician can go in there and he can complete it. So as far as starting it, we're in frame cutting, and that's Mark. So we put Mark on it. It is now blue. So the difference between workshop and workshop management is the productive, the done button. How much completed. If we look at workshop management, it gives us a different view. We don't get all the white lines, and you can action it from here, but it's not recommended, because what it does, if you move a job from management, it doesn't record it as a proper job going through the workshop. It just means you've jumped the job, which, if you're going to record how many jobs you put through and the time frame and everything else, you've got to do it through the workshop report and not workshop management. So we're not going to complete that, because you could actually next it and move it to the next thing, but we're not going to do that. We're going to go back. So let's just click that back. So what the workshop management gives you is all the jobs in the future. Everything that's booked in 10 weeks from now, you will see in this list. But the workshop won't. They only see what's current that they need to do now. So there is no reason to let them see this, because they don't need to know what jobs you've got coming in next week, the week after, and so on and so forth. You need to know that as management, but the techs don't. So the techs have their own report, and it allows them to do that. Now let's assume that Mark has done that job, and he's done it. So now that job goes from frame cutting to welding. The person that's on that is Evan, and we put Evan on that job. It's now blue, and it comes down to being done. It's finished. Galvanizing the frame. So we know that that's going to be sent away. You could, in theory, put a name in there for the company that's doing it or something like that. So instead of a technician, you could put the company in, so you know it's at the company. So that's just something we can put in for future reference. So let's just say Alan's, we're going to put it in Alan's care. So galvanizing the frame, it goes away, comes back, job done. So Alan says done on that, and then it's in the next. So all the jobs that are sat in electrics will be in this view. So there could be, 2 or 3 jobs that needs to have your electrician to work on, but this is the most important because it's at the top of the list. If one of the other jobs is more important, that will be at the top of the list by buffer. Let's start that, and let's put Evan on that, and he completes that, so he does the electrics. This is where you can now start to break up how much has been done. So if he was going to go off and do another job, and you sort of said to him, well, just make it so that I know how far that job's into electrics, he can put 75%. That could be that, I think you said he works only so many days a week. So if he's going to go off and do his thing, have his day off, 2 days off, whatever, that job sits there while the electric is waiting to be. Now you can't move it forward until the electrics are done. So if you wanted to carry on doing other work, you would have to say the electrics has been completed for that job to be showing up in subframe fitment, for example. So that's the only thing, is that if somebody works part of a week and there's no one to follow up and finish off their job, it'll sit there until they come back and fill it. Now that's okay if you've got other jobs in all the departments that people can carry on with anyway. It just sits there until Evan comes back. So that's how it can work. So just a thought. Alright, so Evan completes that now, so he's going to go to complete, and that job moves into subframe fitment. We've got Graham completes it, and assembly build any of these guys. So let's say Graham this time. Graham's working on it. Graham's now completed it, and that's done. It's moved into axle load equipment. Now we don't have a productive name, it's just done. So when your guys come in and do the axle load equipment, we then just done it. Now you noticed, if you remember, there was only 2 items we ticked to have work done, so the livery and the axle. You notice that the speed limiter and the force cameras are on the flow, but you can't see them in the future being worked on this job. The only thing that's got is livery. So it's in white because it's on its way down to that location. So at the moment it's in axle load equipment, then after that it's going to be livery to be applied. So once that's done, it obviously goes into livery to be applied. They've done that. And you might have, you probably have Alan doing that, or yourself. If you know that it's been done, you just move it on to the next location. So now we've got valeting. And again, that's just a done button. So once it's been valeted, there's no person on it, but that can change if you wanted a productive on there as to start and finish it. But otherwise, it's just when it's been valeted and it's done, Alan again would press the button. Now in this case, we've now got QC, and we've said 4 hours allocation for the QC. So Alan would go on there, start the job, and it would just sit there for 4 hours while he QCs it. So that really would be how you go through the system. Now once Alan's completed it, it then says MC move to QC clear. So now the QC is done, we're going to clear the job. It's now no longer in the workshop. We now don't need any parts because we've got them and we've fitted them, and the car's not been delivered, so we're going to leave the vehicle on site until it actually gets removed. So we go next. It now says you're going to go from QC ready for delivery. Okay, so again, delivery date is today. So all your other stuff and information's in there. Not applicable. Next that. Confirm it. Now the workshop's clear. So that job has gone all the way through the system, and now we need to go to delivery. If we go to delivery management, we see there's the job. Okay, so now finishes the 25th. We now go across to action it. Yeah, that's just saying 25th because there's 8-hour buffer running on it. And again, that's normally leaving it in there for a day for someone to collect it. But the actual delivery date is the 24th. But we're allowing 8 hours for someone to collect it or deliver it. So the job is completed as far as measuring the time it's been in the workshop. This bit is not part of the time factor. But we're going to action it. It says vehicle on site, move to delivered, car delivered. Yes, we want invoice check. We now next it. It's saying to you, you do realise you're going to remove it from the following locations. Vehicle on site. Yep, that's fine. So we next that. So just confirm it. We confirm it. Tell you what we'll do. Let's just let's go back to on site. I can't remember if I've shown you this bit. On site tells us, yep, that's it. There's the due date. Buff starting workshop isn't in there because it's been done and finished. Let's go back into that. So we're now going to confirm it. It's now in delivery, ready for delivery to pre-invoice, ready to invoice. So if there was anything you want to add to that, so if you found out that you've added some extra bits and pieces, if you don't want the pre-invoice, we can take that out and it can just go straight ready to invoice. But if there was something you wanted to add, so I'll best check that, pre-invoice it, and then yeah, it's confirmed, you know, I've got the estimate up to date. It says no invoice needed or ready to invoice. The job's not being moved because it's actually a virtual position and not a physical. The physical position means that the car is, or the vehicle's with the customer. So virtual just means you're still completing paperwork for it. Ready to invoice, next that. Confirm it. And now it's ready to invoice. So you may want to take that out, but now you've seen me go through it, you might say, yeah, don't need that. Let's just go straight from ready for delivery, ready to invoice. And then we action it. Invoice is sent. Next that. Confirm. Job gone. So as far as that's concerned, that job's been invoiced by accounts. So this will tell you all the jobs that you completed and going through from delivery into invoicing, and then anybody in accounts can go into iLoad, look at the jobs that need to be invoiced, and once it's removed, that's the job shut down. Now, if you knew what the job number was, and you think, I need to go back into that job, but it's no longer visible anywhere, you can go in there and put a job search on it. So we know it was test 2. If I just go all, then every single job that's ever been put through the workshop will come up in a list. But if you want to be specific, you can just put it in there. But if I have that blank and I just press all and go for it, I'll get every single job that's ever been done. But in this case, we're just going to get test 2. There it is. I select that as being, yep, that's correct. And then I've got a history of all that job, and I've got all the history of what notes were said and taken. So any conversation between customer and staff at Stevens, then it's all recorded. So that's pretty much start to finish as putting jobs in, getting them working. This video is going to be available for you to look at any time. So whether you want to pass it on to another member of staff that wants to sit there and watch the video, gives them an idea of what's going on, that's all good. And once you commit to doing all the work, you need to put every single job on to get it totally up to date with work in progress. So there's our test job. It's when it was moved So you can see here frame cutting was started by Mark on the 24th of the 8th at 11:19, and he moved it through and it went into welding, and that was started by Evan on 11:21:32. So you've got a start and finish history, stamp date of who did what when. Okay. Back to homepage. Okay. Any issues? You remember, you got my number, just give us a call. But hopefully this video will be a way of sort of going back on. If you forget anything, you can just check it out.